So the demon, like finding your demon, getting to know your demon, and letting your demon out, such an important concept, and you see it all throughout like history and different things that are done. But I think what's most important is we have to get back to what the truth is, what the ordinary is. And one of the things that we really believe in here at TSL, all different things that we kind of teach. And it's funny because it comes out of social dynamics and sex. But again, we really, really believe that sex is one of the core languages of humanity. I mean, I think it supersedes being social, right? Is our drive for that. But we have to be able to look at what that ordinary is. And the ordinary is key. Anything that is important in your life, anything that is of massive value. And so, of course, we talk about sex a lot, but if you talk about love, if you talk about compassion, if you talk about humanity, if you talk about your will, your ambition, your purpose, the things that have the most absolute meaning in your life, they all have a road of what this ordinary natural thing is, which has to unfold purely for you. And this is the problem with following a certain regimen or a way or a set path. Of course, we want that because it's a guarantee to the end, but the true key is to finding love, to finding happiness, to finding purpose in your life, to finding meaning. Is you cannot have that set way. You have to be able to find your own way. And part of your own way with all those beautiful truths that we, fall into is that we have to be able to look at the bad. So many of us are unwilling to look at that. So many of us are unwilling to look at that. And so let's take a look at what that means in terms of who we are as a person. What do you value? I value my friends. I value my relationships. I value how I have sex. I value how I broadcast myself, put myself out there to the world, to shake somebody's hand, to make a connection with people. But if I don't allow my full self to come about, man, it'll be terrible. And you have to be able to get to know that dark side of it. You have to be able to get there. You have to be able to be in touch with your demon, your hate, your rage, your anger, all these things that we think are bad or think shut us down in our expression. But you have to know they're there. And if you hold it back, that thing's going to control you. And so, like, for instance, when it comes down to sexuality, this happens all the time. We have these thoughts of what we think, what we feel, of what we want to do, of how we're supposed to have sex and what is supposed to be good sexually. And of course, publicly, our face of sexuality is totally different. We don't talk about the different things that we do in the bedroom or the different things that we did on Friday night or when we were hooking up with somebody. It's private material. But when we think that our social minds or society's voice of sex is one thing, God, it shuts us down. And so we build up this kind of pressure of what it is perhaps we really want, what it is we really want. We build up this pressure of what it is we desire, but we're not supposed to desire. We build up this pressure of like the different taboos that we might have, or we might have some things that we really like, but we realize there's judgment out in society and more pressure builds up. And this is why, because we live in such a complex society, complex group of people, and even if it was less complex, this is why we have to let that demon out. We have to let it out. We have to let it show itself. And we have to let it show itself in a place where it's safe. But sometimes it's not always safe and it just comes the fuck out and you got to be responsible for it. And you have to let it out. You have to let it have its voice. You have to let it have its say and be able to get out and do something, man. If I have thoughts in my head where I want to hurt somebody or I want to kill somebody or I want to beat somebody up or I want to rape or I want to destroy or I want to, harm something, right? And I don't let that out, guess what happens? It becomes in a way of reality. And then I start managing or I start creating beliefs of where I have to be that person. But the interesting thing is when I let it out and I let the demon talk and I let those things go, man, I no longer have a need for it. I'm good. I'm back to normal. The only thing that can keep it there is the guilt of that it needs to, that somehow I did wrong and somehow I need to continue to be that person and so on. And see, it's really, really interesting, man. I remember sitting there, and this is one of the times when I was working in this rehab, and I was sitting in this circle, and there's a guy sitting there. Actually, still know this guy to this day. Great guy, amazing dude. It isn't always the case for people that you meet in rehabs, but he sits there and he looks at us. And we're sitting there talking to the dudes about different stuff, guys and girls actually. And he goes, man, have you ever just wanted to fucking kill somebody and ruin their life. Just fucking, not just kill them, but like take them and just smash their teeth against the curb and rip every single one of them out, rip their, and have them walk around and be shamed and embarrassed for the rest of their life because they're fucking, I have thoughts like that. That's where I'm coming from. That's where da. And I just remember being there like, man, all the time I have those thoughts. Fuck yeah. If somebody wrongs me, if something happens to me, if something, where I get hurt, I'm the kind of guy where I take the revenge or whatever to the extreme. I think that way. But if I'm willing to think that way, if I let my demon have its voice, by having its voice doesn't mean I take the action. By having its voice, I let it out. I let it think. I can sit there and have my mind, have my conscious thought, have my body, have my choices be right here, right? And I trust it enough to go, okay, all right, let the rage out. Fuck! Like the fucking pit. And I was even repressed because I don't want to wake everybody up. Or maybe I need to smash, maybe I need to flex my muscles and hammer something. Maybe I need to get mad. Maybe I need to allow that to happen. But I allow it to pass. And the interesting thing is that feelings and emotions have a very short timeline. They pass very quick. There's certain ones that stay a little bit longer. Like, if somebody dies that I care about, there's grief can have no timeline at points, or it has an unpredictable one. But man, anger, rage, sex, the passion, they all have their different voices. Anger very different than sex, and to feel passionate or to feel when I get in a manic moment about creating something much, much different. But I have to let it have that voice. I have to let it speak. And I have to also be the human being, the person. I have to learn this over time and only through experience. The human being and the person that can sit there and process that thought and make that choice. Process that feeling and be able to choose from it of who I am and what I am. And many times in choosing that, I have to lose control. I'll tell you this, like, man, I get pissed off a lot, And it's an interesting thing because one of the guys on the call who brought this up, I do some work with him with the bioenergetic stuff of releasing stuff. I get angry a lot. And it comes to a point where it's like, man, maybe I am just an angry person. That's my nature. Not that I'm an angry person in a way that I'm just angry. This is how I was born or where I'm at or maybe how my body is, how my mind is, how I was made, right? Or maybe I developed it over time. But I have that, man, where I can be pissed. But here's the thing. What do I do with it? How does it control me? Can I still have all those great invisible virtues of love, compassion, purpose, sharing, man, just the joy of having a family? Can I have that value, that beautiful value that I can't see? Can I still have that? Absolutely. I have that so much in my life. There's so many different, perhaps scars or deformities or whatever that I have, that I walk with, that I can turn into something which can be great. And we really, really need to realize that. And some of the path of it is being able to let it have its voice. Man, I love letting the demon speak, because if you let the demon speak, man, it no longer becomes a demon and it no longer has its power. It's no longer a power greater than yourself, and it learns to work and speak within this kind of ecosystem of what your mind is. A very, very cool thing. Hence, man, why it's so important for guys to be a part of a group, to be able to be honest, to not be limited by what they say. And of course, those loose boundaries of not attacking, of not actively trying to harm somebody else. Man, you can get a great thing, because when guys open up and really speak the truth, we get to the truth of their path, their way of life. Man, it's such a fucking cool thing. I'll tell you this. This is an interesting thing. Think about this. Each single one of you out there, you have a story that is happening right now that may not be dependent upon what looks cool, what looks good. You may have gotten a bunch of money. You may have not. You may have just kind of woken up and done whatever, but you are on a path of living a life of a great man right now. And you can do that. Whether you had adversity, whether something good or bad happened, man, that's fucking awesome. And if we could get together every day and have that story, that's fucking cool. That's fucking amazing, man. That's a beautiful thing. And those are the types of communities that I want built with this. Those are the types of communities that we have. and that we need to sustain and learn to nurture that. Man, that's a cool thing. And that can only really come from this sort of openness and allowance for it to happen. Man, life doesn't have restrictions on it. Life just goes and goes and goes. And we need to find out what is the truth of that, rather than how can we control it to make it feel good for our own insecurities and balances and the different rule books we have, so that we can fool ourselves into feeling good.